everybody. Welcome to another episode of Totally Naked. I am Dominique, and I have with me the fabulous co-host, Dante Buxton, Jax, and April T. Lee. Hi,
What's
everybody.
up? What's up?
How you guys doing today? Y'all good?
Pretty good. Pretty
Good
good.
Oh
week?
wow. I had an amazing week.
Come through amazing week?
Amazing week so far. Knock on wood.
Well, I hope that because today is Sunday, the first day of the week, you start this off as a good day, okay? To set forth your week. But listen, y'all, I had a good week too. And I was listening to some podcasts as I usually do while I'm working. And I stumbled across a podcast called The Roommates Podcast. I'm not sure if any of you guys at home or if any of my wonderful co-hosts have ever stumbled across or listened to said podcast. But if you have not, the podcast consists of two hosts. Both of those hosts are men. And that show primarily, from what I've heard, tailors directly to men. This particular episode, though, they were talking about reasons why women do not follow or respect the man that they are in a relationship with, as they should. And they stated that they believe that women don't do this because men are considered too soft or lazy. And then, so they compared it to this acknowledging. I never say it right. Don't judge me at home. So, so
Right.
when, they said it's like when a woman jumps in the car with a man, she expects him to drive her to a destination. But once she realizes that that man may either be lost or he doesn't have a plan at all, she begins to passenger seat drive and tell him how to get there. So I started thinking, well, basically, are men really unprepared to lead, or is it that women, we don't know how to lead? So here's the question to you guys at home and to my wonderful co-host. What does it mean for a man to lead his woman or his family? What you guys think?
Well, what you were just saying, that a man needs to have a plan, that's definitely part of it. I think a lot of times we fall into just letting things go, or just letting days just go without having an actual plan on uh, being successful, or things that we're going to do in order to strive to be better and be better leaders for our wives and kids and everything else. We just kind of let days go, and there isn't like any intentionality behind why we do certain things, or why we go certain places, or why we are involved in certain things. And it's funny that you should bring up the analogy about riding in a car and being backseat drivers and everything, because I ironically heard another analogy last week, I think it was, where a lot of the times, and I know we talking about men leading and everything, where it's like a man and the female riding in the car together, and it's like they have a flat tire, and so the man has a brother who knows how to fix tires and everything, and so he called his brother. And then the female is like, well, why can't we just call AAA and do this, that, and the third? And they get into an argument, not that the tire isn't going to get fixed, but the way that it's going to get fixed. And it's like y'all throwing your whole day off, your whole evening off, that you're on your way to dinner and everything. And it's about, why is it like, I don't mind you, the end result is the tire is going to get fixed, the end result. But why is it such a emphasis, and it's typically from a female perspective, why is such emphasis on you need to do it this way? Like there isn't a right or wrong way. Is the end result going to end out the way that it should end out? But I'll let you guys go ahead and start off.
Jax, April, we can't hear you, sweetie. Are you on mute? We can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
we in
So
there.
I'm over here chatting it up, and y'all don't even hear it. All right. So I had my earbuds in, so maybe they just wasn't working. But anyway, so first off, I think that we need to define what I believe a man leading is. Okay. A man leading to me is he has an understanding of finances. Like he's able to have a job, he's working, he knows that he needs to one be putting money away or to the side. A man leading is him being able to have a plan for a relationship, rather like, okay, although we may be starting to get to know each other a little bit, but he understands that one, we're going to be moving in this direction, rather we're going to be spending time together and all these other things that help sustain and build a relationship, but also that he knows how to rear his children. He's there for his children. He's giving solid advice. I like to call men kings. And so even if you're not always acting as one, I think that a man has to be able to be decisive and be able to make decisions that are sound and wise. That's a man leading for me.
Yeah, I think
And I
for
don't
me,
know if I answered Jack's question, but maybe you can.
maybe I missed Jack's question.
Jack
I
says
didn't have
Jack
one.
wants us to be able to not have our input. Why does it have to be our image that is the right way and not, the way we're still coming up with the end goal? So why does it have to be this particular route? And that's
Well,
Correct.
the
I
way
think
that
that
we
we're
go.
going to address that though. I think that ultimately we will get to that part, but I think to the point of really seeing what does it mean for a man to lead, understanding that from each person's perspective is very important for me. I feel like a man leading, because the question was twofold. It was leading a woman and then the family, right? So for me as the woman, I feel that I would like to be covered. To me, leading is that he has covered 5 crucial areas. Not saying that he has covered these areas simultaneously, not to say that he is covering these areas equally. I understand that every season comes a different reason, which means that one of these actual 5 things I'm about to say may change over a course of time in regards to what bucket is getting full a little bit more. But when I think of a man who can lead me, I think of a man who has the capability of touching 5 areas for me. Those areas would be spiritually. Can he cover me mentally? Can he cover me financially? And can he cover me physically? Okay. And can he cover me? And can he cover me emotionally? Okay. That is for me as the man, for me as Dominique, just our relationship as 2 people. 2, when it comes to children, yes, some of the same thing, actually all of those same things apply, but now not do I need him to apply those 5 things to me alone, but I'm asking or looking for that he is applying those same 5 things to the children. Like, are you, and except the physically part, take the physically part out.
Yes, please.
So,
No pedophile.
but you get what I'm saying? Like the mentally that we're covering that he's covering our children mentally, that he's covering our children emotionally, that he's covering our children financially, that he's covering our children spiritually. To me, that is the 5 things that I can say. If you are able to touch these 5, and I'm not saying touch these 5, you touch one this year, you touch the other one next year. No, I have to see
simultaneously.
You have the capacity to touch them all, with the understanding that in this season, I might need a little bit more emotional support because maybe a family member has died. Maybe I'm stressed out at work. Maybe it's another situation that maybe I need to lean on you a little bit more on the emotional side this season. Whatever the situation. But for me, when I think about that, If you can't touch one, so for example, you got everything, but you can't supply for me spiritually, it's a no-go. If you can't supply for me financially, but you got everything else, that's gonna be a no-go.
So how does
So
he supply for you spiritually? Because I'm interested. I mean, I realized that I want a man that's spiritual as well, and I didn't say that. But how does he cover you spiritually?
well, number one, through prayer. Number two, through building an atmosphere of unified worship, a atmosphere where he is requiring, as well as myself, but him being the head of my family and of my life, requiring God be in the middle. That and leading the charge in that. For me, that is how I feel that he will cover me spiritually. But that doesn't take away my responsibility as his wife, right? Or the person, because I need to be able to cover him spiritually in the time that he needs it. I need to be able to cover him financially when if he hits a rough spot and something happens with his job. I need to be able to cover him emotionally, because guess what? Just like I get stressed out, he might be stressed out. He might be going through something in
Absolutely.
his family, with a death or something that, hello, I'm definitely going to take care of him physically and mentally.
You had to pause. You had to pause and let that sink in. Let it be known.
Let it be,
Hallelujah.
because the Bible tells me not to leave my husband unsatisfied, okay? But, and then mentally, I have to be able to be, I understand biblically that God is the source of all peace, but I feel that as a natural sense, that he should be able to have in me and in our relationship and our covenant, plug for a feature show, that he is covered mentally and that he can gain that peace with me as well. And I guess that is a segue into kind of what Jax was saying. So if I'm his peace, or if I desire to be a person or an area where I'm building them up and even correcting them, but correcting them in love and being solid in peace for him, then I can't be the one, upset at what I have to say. I believe that he understands, number one, he's prayed about where we're going. That's number one. And number two, I have to trust him. If I'm saying that I'm wanting to spend my life with you, we have to be able to give a level of trust. I think that the women who don't trust can't relinquish their control, or have not felt that their primary things, like I listed, my primary things were not being met. So it's because I've been there. And I don't know about you, but I'm a single mama. I know that you are separated, co-parenting, Jax. But when you in hustle mode and you making stuff happen and you shaking and baking, it's kind of difficult to turn that off, just because I'm in a relationship with someone, especially when that person is not giving me any indication that he can handle it.
So I try to make things very, very simple, because my thing is, if you don't see those signs and you don't see the indication of they're capable of doing that, then get off the ship. I don't
I
understand,
agree
like,
with
get out
that.
of the car. Like,
But I'm just speaking from why women do that. I mean, or why anybody, because I don't think it's just women, because there are some men
it's both.
that are the
It's
same
both.
way.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I just feel like it's like when we were pre-gaming and we were just talking about our weeks and stuff. I just think it just boils down to people are insecure. And when you have not taken the time during your singleness to address those things, then those things creep up and those things show up, and those things unfortunately drive wedges in relationships when they are not handled the proper way.
Right.
I agree.
So
Yeah, I think sometimes we end up getting in relationships prematurely and doing serious acts with people that we haven't vetted out well enough. So then you find out that they're not prepared to lead, and it's like, oh shoot, now I probably have invested too much of myself emotionally or spiritually, and then now I'm kind of I may feel obligated to stay. Maybe you end up having, like, sometimes we end up having kids with them too, so then it's like, darn it, I done messed around and, got pregnant by this guy, but he's not in a leadership. He's not showing leadership qualities as he should. And so now I need to take the reins on this, because if I don't, then, who's going to be responsible for making sure that, our needs are met? Or, maybe they don't even have all those things together. Maybe they don't even have their own place. They're relying on you, to they're looking at you as like almost like a mother figure, and you're okay with being that person because you've seen your mom do it. I know I've kind of come up in an environment where I've been around a lot of strong Black women, and so sometimes when you're seeing women be that strong, it's difficult to be able to relinquish the role to someone who isn't like showing you characteristics of leadership.
Well, my thing is, I know my thing is, this is not a man bashing session, and I'm not saying that you were, April. I'm not saying you were at all, because what you said was definitely spot on. But my thing is, we've got to start taking some ownership and accountability of things that happen. So you even just said how you messed around and had my thing is, my question is, why you land out somebody who still stays with their mom or doesn't have their own place? Like, it's like, I get it, but it's not like this person isn't displaying leadership. It's even, why am I even expecting leadership out of somebody who isn't showing it in their own life? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I think
yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I think that, and that's actually, I would say, a barrier, right? Or we face barriers, and that is a barrier, right? If you're not ready or you have not matured enough, yes, you ain't ready. You still living at home with mama and you ain't paying mama no rent. You ride around hoopty doopty boo boo and you not really acting like you got no goals.
Right.
Well, you ain't ready, baby. You ain't even ready to be single. Okay, so they got a couple of more steps up the ladder that they trying to go to. I do agree 100% that everybody has an option. Everyone has a decision that they can make, and that everyone is entitled to that. But Jax, remember that when people emotions get involved, and and the different backgrounds that they come from, like, I could just be honest and share a little bit about myself. I struggle with abandonment and feeling like someone is going to abandon me and leave me and not count me as worthy. So much so that it makes it difficult for me to be in a relationship. And then when I actually do get into the relationship, that insecurity shows its ugly head. And it seems like, as much as I try to get a hold of it and I try to, move forward. So, and in that case, you get tied up or you get boggled with the thoughts of, well, do I not get in a relationship? Do I stay out? All those different kind of things. But again, it is a barrier. Me having that insecurity and leaving that insecurity unchecked is a barrier for a woman that prevents a man, could possibly prevent a man from leading his family. If I'm insecure, everything that he do going to be a bad thing, right?
Or either that or questioned, and everything is question.
Right.
And it's like, what are we doing here?
Right. And that is like I said, it impairs the ability to lead. But I mean, that's just one thing. You're a man, Dante, you're a guy, and you barely said nothing today. But what barriers do you as men, like you being men, what do you think is a barrier?
I think a lot of times a barrier can be the opportunity to lead. I think sometimes in relationships, there are oftentimes women who are apprehensive to allow someone to lead. It could be for a myriad of reasons. One could be because they did, like April said, they were raised by strong women and taught to be independent and so on and so forth. So when a man comes, seeking to marry or seeking companionship, they aren't often receptive to it because of maybe some concepts that were learned or behaviors or thought process that were learned um, while they were growing up or while they were surrounded by their village or their mentors who taught them how to be who they are. I think that is something that people often deal with, male or female. That is an imposition in terms of relationships really flourishing and allowing. I think a lot of times people are just scared also, and worried due to past hurts or due to betrayal, and you're worried so much so that you just don't allow him to lead. And I think sometimes it's done unknowingly, and I think a lot of times that's kind of a breakdown as well. The unknowing lack of trust or ability or humbling of self to allow someone to come into your life and lead in that capacity, and also what learned behaviors you were taught growing up.
I agree with that. I also feel as though there might be a deficit of strong male, hopefully black role models as far as what leadership should look like in the household. Because make no mistakes about it, I think it's close to 70% of homes that are African American, don't have fathers in the homes, and that could be for a myriad of reasons. That's a rabbit hole that we're not going down tonight. But um, going back to what April said, about being a strong about being strong women and everything. I think that because I really don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I feel as though that phrase, strong woman, this, that, and the third, like I get what you guys try to convey, but there isn't like a a medal or like a trophy for like being the strongest woman, if that makes sense. So it's like when I come across, and when women are saying, I'm strong, this, that, like that, for me that doesn't do anything. That almost makes you look at you almost like, okay, thanks for that information, but that doesn't like excite me because you are the strongest. Like you aren't like does that like you aren't
I think
on
but Jax, I have to jump in really quickly because I
your
do have to disagree with you on that. I take
okay.
the example of my mother who's watching, and we were actually just talking about
He does.
we were just talking about that, how my mother and she wouldn't mind because we've talked about it publicly on her show and other areas. But growing up, I watched my mother be abused physically by my father and treated horribly. And so um, at that point, she would by family or friends be considered a victim, and do in an abusive situation. But now she considers herself a victor because she made it through. She
Yeah.
found love again. She's healed from that. She's received the what she's needed, and so now she's victorious. And so she does consider herself a strong woman. I do agree with you in the sense that it can be taken out of context, as we have often discussed,
Mhm.
so much to the point where women feel as though, oh, I'm a strong woman. It's a level of independence, so much so that it becomes a distraction to your progress. And so I think
Yeah.
that we can say that don't allow your mentality or your concept of being a strong woman or even a strong black man
Right.
to
Right.
cause the inability for you to find happiness in the area of companionship or love.
Right.
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 And
I mean,
and
I just
and
want to say
and,
something
and
real quick that, like, because I don't necessarily say that I wear that as a banner or a badge,
Right.
or to hold it up as a trophy, because I think that I've, like, honestly, I have to look at it. I don't look at it as a deficit, but I honestly do realize that that is a construct and an idea that was I was reared in this way, and so my lens and my perspective sometimes, when it comes to the things that a woman does and what a woman is capable of, is from that vantage point. Is because, I mean, from my situation is from a lot of brokenness. You know, we did not have a lot of strong
Yeah.
male figures in or around us. Like, even if they were in the house, they weren't necessarily always in leadership roles. They played more passive roles. And when you talk about barriers, you know, some of the barriers that, you know, I grew up around, you talked about abusiveness, but, you know, the men that were dating the women that were in my family, you know, some of them, not all, like drink heavily,
Yeah.
smoke a lot, some, you know, women chasers. And so some of those were the barriers to them being the leaders that they needed to be in the house. If we are saying that the leadership is, you know, our base is off of Dominique's the five, you know, with the spirituality and the financial stability and the emotional, you know, like, it's like, if you're not seeing those images, then sometimes what you do see is a woman stepping up. And I saw that image enough that, you know, my vantage point or my view was skewed. I always communicate to the men that I've dated, and that, you know, look here, this is what I'm coming in with. I'm coming in with this, you know, idea that, you know, that one, sometimes men don't always step up, but that's not what I want. I want him to lead me. I want him to lead. And this is an area that I struggle with. I struggle with the alpha female. I'm an alpha female because I was reared by alpha females. And it's not that I'm wearing it as a badge, but it's to say, hey, look, help me help you.
That part.
Yeah, help me
Yeah.
help you. Like, I want you to be the king. I want you to lead. But, you know, realize that I'm coming from, like, at this point now, 30 something, 40 years of being, you know, like, or I would say 30 years, 30, 20 something years of being an independent woman, having to create my own financial picture, being able to find stability and have a home and all those things. And so because of that, I bring all this independence to the table, but I don't want it. I will gladly give it away. But
Right.
I do realize that because I have a background, that you may have to help me break some of that down.
Well, let me just say,
and I have to trust you.
I am a strong black woman, honey, and I wear it as a badge of honor, a cape around my neck, baby. It is glory. You hear what I say? But don't you get that confused with being independent. And I think that there is a very, very thin line, but there is a sure, strong distinction. And
I
here's
agree.
why. I believe that an alpha woman ain't nothing wrong with it. As a man, you should want a strong woman. You need to know you got somebody who ain't no punk on your team. You need to know that you got somebody that's gonna be like, it ain't going down like that. It's going down like this, and it's going down like that. Somebody who can hold the fort down and be a help to your behind when you need. You don't want nobody who's weak. At least in my opinion, I don't want no weak man, and I can't imagine that a strong man would want a weak woman. I can't imagine it. However, an independent woman is someone who says that she doesn't need a man. She doesn't need anybody to help her get from point A to point B, and that's not me. Listen. Can you pay my bills, please? Can you pay my bill? I know I got the capability of paying my $70 cell phone bill, but I sure want you to go ahead and pay it. I know I got the ability to pay my something up there rent. Okay, but maybe I want you to pay it because, baby, I'm strong. I'm a strong black woman. I'm a cornerstone that can help hold this family up with you, but I am not independent on the island of me. And I think that
I
if we
think
build that
so, but I
distinction.
think that there is a myriad or tons of women that follow African American women who believe in the same thing, that they're strong black women. They believe that, and they wear it with a badge. And I think that sometimes when we're talking to each other, like, I think it's cool to be like, I'm strong, but I think that there's still something to say that men want something soft. They want to have an agreeable home. And as much as we may like are strong and we feel this, like I'm gonna just say independence because I know that that's a part of it. But when we are looking like him, he don't want that,
But I don't
and
think being strong, I don't think being strong takes away from the man being a man and a man leading. I don't think that me being able to withstand or being a strong personality means that I'm not soft to my man. And that's for me, I feel like is a problem because
A
those
strong
those
personality can be a distraction, though, and I think
it can,
balance
but
is often.
a super weak personality can also be as equally a distraction. You
it's
have to
And
have
not.
a
It
that's
balance.
why I
depends.
believe
If you got
that's why I
ultra
believe
super
balance
skills.
is essential. I think
There
balance
has
is
to be
essential,
balance.
and biblically, I would say that that's kind of applicable or a parallel to being evenly yoked. I think when it comes down to relationships, it's important that there is that balance. I don't have a problem with a strong man. I don't have a problem with that. My position is when you're in relationship with a strong woman, a strong man, and you don't know how to turn it down at times or turn it up at times when needed. And I think that comes through consideration. I think that comes down to maturity. I think that comes down to understanding love languages, perhaps. I think it also may be an idea of growth. I think it also may be an idea of what the shared goals are. I think balance is something that will serve in your best interest when it comes. I think that there's nothing wrong with being strong. I think we all will want
I
someone who's
agree.
strong and
Absolutely.
capable, but I think that at the same time, there has to be a balance because what's going to happen is if you come off with the mentality, not y'all, but I'm just speaking hypothetically, if you come off with the mentality of I'm a strong woman and I can do it for myself and I've been doing it for myself and I raised myself or da 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 whatever the scenario is, what it can be a turn off, and you may have someone who's genuinely trying to lead or be the head of the household or to really take care of your heart and care for you in those five components that you listed at the beginning, Dominique. Um, but it may become, he may be at a disadvantage due to your, you know,
Strong
mentality
willedness, yeah,
or,
because
or
she's strong
disposition.
willed.
Well, I
Right.
just feel like because Proverbs 31, a lot of women, especially Christian women and the Christian man, says that they want a Proverbs 31 woman. But the Proverbs 31 woman was strong. She was an entrepreneur. She was a hustler. But at the same time, she took care of her kids and she took care of her
Yeah,
husband.
Yeah, but
Yes,
But
that is the truth. But so what I'm saying is, I feel that today the definition of what strong means in terms, I think it's misplaced.
I
I
agree.
think that saying that someone has a stronger personality type doesn't mean I can't be soft and peace for my man.
I
yeah,
think the
That
but I
doesn't
think
mean
that,
definition
that.
but
of
if
being a
you are
strong
at the
black woman
mindset that
or a
you're
strong
strong,
woman
I
is
think
go
that
ahead.
you may cater more towards, or not you, but I'm just saying that stronger woman sometimes gets paired up with a man that may need a little bit more leadership, or he may be okay with it, and so he's allowing you to give him some thoughts and ways of doing things because
In
you
some of
are
the areas that he may have a deficit. That's
right.
correct.
right.
So, but then
And
is
the
he
thing is,
prepared to lead? He's not prepared
and
to
Balance.
lead.
But that don't mean you're not
and
prepared to lead,
and
April, because
and the thing
everyone's
is,
not arrived.
and the thing is, you talk about the Proverbs 31 woman and all.
Yeah.
Yes, and if you read that passage, it always says she did. It never said she said. It never said she came back and said, "Hey, I did this. Hey, I'm taking care of this." No, she just did.
Right,
I'm
but
not,
Yeah.
that's not, so where are you coming from with that point? Because my point was
and
to
I am
say
not,
that a
and
woman
I,
is strong doesn't mean
but
it doesn't. What I'm saying is it's very possible for a woman to have that balance. It's very possible for them to be strong
it is,
as
it is,
well as soft.
it
And the
is.
Proverbs 31 is the prime example. What I'm saying is a lot of people say they want to be that, but they don't understand that she had a balance. I'm not saying that a woman should be like, you know what, I did this for you. I wash your dirty drawers. I iron your clothes. I'm not saying that. And that's why I'm saying the whole point of this conversation and my point is this is the whole problem with the culture. Because
Right.
we are misplacing this thing. You said something crucial before the show. You said people make things more complicated than it actually really is,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And I think that if we are not having the conversation, sitting down, discussing what is actually going on. If I am in a relationship with a man who believes that my strong personality may be a little off-putting, you being able to sit down and have a conversation with me and saying, you know what, Dom, when you do this, it doesn't necessarily work for me. We need to fix this. Now, it's my choice to fix it and stay,
Or not.
or
Or don't
not
and
fix
leave.
it, correct, or not
Right.
fix it and chuck the deuces, right?
Right.
But the point is that the conversation, though, it needs to be in the myth that a strong woman equals an angry woman, which equals a combative woman. That myth needs to stop, because just because I declare that I am a strong woman, and thank God I am, because how else would you be able to be pregnant at 14, have your baby at 15, get a full scholarship in a whole different state, thousands of miles away from your child, do that for 4 years, raise, then bring that said child all the way to where you are, thousands of miles away from all family that could actually really help you with said child, working, going to school, raising said child. Like, you have to have a level of strength to be able to do that and do it alone. So yeah, I'm proud of that. But it's not to say that I'm angry, I'm not bitter, I'm not combative, and I make room for a man to show me he can be a man. If I see he's not, then I gotta chuck the deuces.
I
Okay,
agree with
well,
that. I
Chuck the
think
Juice
that
is
you
definitely.
are.
Go ahead,
I just
Dante.
want to. I just want to say one thing. I think that Dominique's point is very poignant, and I think that you are indeed a strong woman. However, I think it's also important to ensure that women and men, because there are men who walk around professing to be a strong black man. I'm a strong black alpha male man. But I think that you have to really hold fast to what the true definition of that is. And I think sometimes your example, Dominique, is spot on. However, a lot of times it's taken completely out of context. And the strong black woman, or not to just say black people, because I'm sure there's strong white women, but the strong woman or the strong man mindset or vocalization can become something of arrogance. It can become displaced, and the definition can be lost
Tainted.
and disjointed.
Right.
And that is where the
Right,
breakdown comes in. It's okay for someone to or one to profess that they are a strong whatever male or woman female. But I think at the same time, it's also important that you understand what it really means to be a strong woman,
right,
what it really
right.
means to be a strong man. And that is that balance. That is those
That's
five key components that you listed. That is ensuring that you're understanding and considering both perspectives and both sides in terms of navigating through life together and leading your household as a male, or at
right.
times submitting when necessary as a female, or whatever. But I
Yeah, I
think
think.
that it is very true that I'm sorry, April. I think that it is very true that it's okay to be strong, but hold fast to what that definition really means.
Yeah, I think
Right.
that is. I mean, I think that strength is fine. I think that the issue
Yeah.
is, and that we also have to realize that there is a level of respect that we should always give each other. But I think that when you have been in a leadership role, and that's basically what Dominique is expressing, she has been responsible, she has been the leader of her household without a said man there, the absence of a male figure there. And so then she has essentially placed herself in that leadership role. But when you're asking for the five components, and which I thought is beautiful, you
Yeah.
have to also realize that on the other side of that, although you may be strong, there's still like men are expecting a level of respect. You talked about the Proverbs 31 woman, like first and foremost, that was not necessarily addressed to women, but it was addressed to men for what
Right.
he is to look for, the characteristics
Correct.
in a woman, and speaking to a king. But
Right.
and so she was speaking to, like the mother was teaching her son, who was a king, how
No,
he
the
is to
father was
lead.
teaching his son, who was the
Yeah,
king.
well, but he was
Right.
taught by his mother, and so, but it was to teach him how to be a leader, and that you want a woman that shows you respect, that she is respecting you out there in the community. That was one of the other things too. So I think that yeah, she was a boss, and she was definitely helping with the household. She was managing things in the home, but I definitely think that as women who may have been in these single mom roles, or women who just have not had the male figure in the house, that we have to realize that we're at a deficit sometimes. That's all I'm saying.
But
I
I know
realize that
I
there's
get
a
exactly
deficit
what you're
there.
saying, but I think again that plays into the myth that I was just talking about.
What's the myth?
Because the myth is that strong equals combative, which equals, not making room for the man. Like when men think of strong, they're like, I want a strong woman. I want a woman not listen to me. I want a woman who's always going to have something to say back. They equate it with combativeness.
So, but
And
I
that
think
what
that's
I'm
because
saying
that's
is
what
I
they
don't
experience. That I think
right.
that
I
we can
get
say
that's
we
what
call
they
ourselves
experience.
strength, but that's what they're observing. So
Right,
they
I
may
get
not be
that.
able to communicate that, but I
I
think it's
get
an
that, but it
observation
doesn't
of what
negate the
they're
fact.
observing.
It doesn't negate the fact that it's still a myth. I mean, regardless,
But if
like
that's what
it
they're
is our
experience,
reality. It's a reality that yeah, there are women out there who have done it, but that is not the truth for all women. And it's not the truth for all women who have stronger personalities. Hi, I get what you're saying, Dominique. I know you're strong. I know you wear it as a badge of honor, but girl, just don't forget, it could also be a distraction. But that's with anything. Too much of one thing is not good. You have to have a balance. But I don't like the premise to say that only strong women need to be careful because you may have the deficit. No, you weak women or you weak men or you people who don't have enough courage to stand up or whatever, like all of that as well is also an issue, right?
I
But
don't
that
think
doesn't
anybody's disagreeing with that.
right. But I just don't like the idea to say like if you should women shouldn't accept the fact that they're strong because men don't want that. Like I think is the issue with men needing to understand the definition of what strong is as women. Like don't shy away from a woman because she is sure of herself, because she understands where she's going in her life. If you're intimidated by that, that's one, but that doesn't mean that just because she's strong, you can't be her man.
yeah,
I think also,
that's my thing. I think that when we're just talking about and communicating that I'm strong, that's just words. But I think that when a man says it, it's because he's experiencing something. Maybe it's the mouth. Maybe it's like when he's saying something that you always like. Maybe you have an alternate route that you're saying that this is the way we should go. It's like you grab the map, and that you don't mean to be, but you mean to be helpful, but he's not perceiving it that way. So we're saying it's still strength. It is strong, but it's based on the behaviors that he's observing. And so he may just call it angry black woman or whatever, but it's because he's experiencing something that he doesn't
Well, I
like.
would think
But
maybe
he
I
that's a
think,
wants
control
respect.
problem. That person
no,
got
no,
a
no, no, no.
control issue.
Wait. I think also, though, it's important to consider, and this is something that we noted in the pre-show meeting. I think that it's important to consider that at times, and that's why I lifted exhibiting a level of consideration on both sides as well, because maybe there is a deficit in role models or influences. Growing up in a two-parent household where you saw the construct, the family construct, or the family unit, a healthy family unit. maybe not having father in the house, maybe as a woman, maybe not having mother in the house, and so you don't know what specifically is expected or what to expect, and so you lean to other ideals or excuse me, other impersonations or impressions of what that those units or those systems could look like: television, music, videos, whatever, and therefore your thought process is disjointed and off. I think that's a lot of times too what it could be as well. There could be that, your disposition is off every time I say something. You don't really want to be submissive as a wife, as a girlfriend or wife or whatever. But I think also the lack of presence in terms of a role model or an influence or
That
um, a father or a mother to really
right.
raise and guide you and teach you and build you in that area can also be the reason why you don't necessarily understand what's going on. Excuse me. that's
I
that's
agree.
just my point. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree. And I think, honestly, guys, we could talk about this for a couple of more hours. There is just so many different dynamics that could go into this
Yeah.
thing. I mean, so many different areas. So, with that being said, we need you to stay tuned. Right? We're going to go ahead and wrap this conversation up. But don't worry, because we will be back for part two. And part two is going to be Family Matters, family construct, where we dig into this a little bit deeper. Okay, so what we need you to do for us moving forward is to please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget, if you like podcasts, that we're also available on our podcast platforms, which includes Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We love you to life, and we thank you so much for joining the conversation. Have a good one, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.